What's up everybody, this is the 2024 Volkswagen Atlas. So the Atlas gets another refresh here for the 2024 model year. It got a refresh back in 2021 and is still based on the same vehicle that debuted back in 2018. But in the Atlas's defense, there's a lot of things that were really good about it. It drove great, it has plenty of space and room inside. So if it's not broke, don't fix it, I guess. And so they just gave it a nice fresh look here on the outside. And I think it's actually a really nice improvement. So everything except the base model gets this light bar that goes across the front end there. And you even have an illuminated Volkswagen badge, not only in the front, but also in the back, where you also see a full width taillight bar there as well. And so back up front here though, I mean, it still looks really great. Still the same great boxy proportions we're used to from the Atlas. Just again, chiseled and sharpened up a little bit. You do also have adaptive LED headlights as standard now as well. So that means they will turn in corners, give you better visibility around bends and things like that. And it's really great that you have that as standard to give you a little bit of extra visibility at night. Otherwise here, going down to the sides, you also have some new wheels here on all the Atlases. And this one here being the R line gives you these exclusive 21-inch wheels, which are the largest. And so it's gonna be the sportiest handling of the bunch. And we'll talk more about how it drives once we get out on the road. But out back, like I said, you got those freshened up taillights. They're still doing the fake exhaust tip thing there in the lower part of the rear bumper that I'm not crazy about. But aside from that, still a really nice, classy looking back end. And I really do love that lighting you have there that's added in. And the illuminated badge on the back there is also a really cool touch that no one else is really doing yet. So really well done there, I think, styling wise. And so overall, you know, the Atlas still looks great, still has all the same great proportions as you're used to. And I think it's just a really well done refresh. All right, so let's start up and go for a drive. The Atlas here has Volkswagen's new key, which is a really nice key. It's got a glossy finish to it here and not too big or anything. It just honestly feels pretty high quality and just a really nice key. But it is keyless access, keyless entry, and push button start here on all versions of the Atlas for 2024. So you just leave the key in your pocket, hit the engine start button, and it starts right up. And if you're curious to hear about the interior in the 2024 Atlas, my wife and I just did a full deep dive interior review on this vehicle. So I'll link that at the end of this video. You can check that out if you want to hear all the details on this interior. Space-wise, it's going to be the same as any other Atlas. So as far as that goes, there's nothing new. The big new thing is that it's a lot more plush. It gets Volkswagen's new infotainment system and just a lot more soft touch materials and higher quality materials overall. And so it really elevates, especially these upper trims of the Atlas. But even the base trims come really well equipped with cooled seats, heated steering wheel, heated seats, a bunch of really nice stuff. So all interiors are pretty nice here for the new Atlas, but definitely check out that video at the end for all the details. All right, so setting off here in the 2024 Volkswagen Atlas. So the first thing you notice about it, well, you know, it does definitely feel like a larger crossover. You know, it's just very good visibility, but it just feels pretty wide and pretty big, a little more large than maybe some of the other crossovers that are basically the same size, but it just feels pretty big. You have a nice high seating position here. But yeah, visibility is very good. You have a great view forward, great view out of the sides, A-pillar's not too thick, view out of the back's pretty good, at least as long as you don't have those third row headrests up. It would be nice to see a camera rear view mirror here. That is not available. That's something that a lot of the other competitors are now offering, and really helps if you have a cluttered rear seat area there. But otherwise, you know, still really easy to drive. Of course, you have all the safety tech as standard basically. The only thing that isn't standard is adaptive cruise control, which some other competitors do make standard. But aside from that, you know, Volkswagen has all your bases covered there as far as safety tech goes. Other things here to notice about the Atlas, well, as we're slowing down for a stop sign here, you have a nice and responsive brake pedal. It really starts to bite right towards the top of the pedal. Exactly what you want out of something like this. It feels very safe and reassuring. Throttle response is pretty good as well. Now, the transmission, it's a normal 8-speed torque converter automatic here, and it's not bad, but Volkswagens, every once in a while, they're a little more resistant to a downshift, and this is certainly better than most of the other Volkswagen stuff I've driven, but there are still some times where I'm waiting for the transmission to give me a downshift, and it's a little disconnected still sometimes, but it's not a huge deal here in the Atlas, so I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. It's very, very, you know, drivable, very easy to drive, and it shouldn't be too big of an issue. But I will say that I think that some of the other competitors do have better transmission calibration to give you, you know, quicker response, give you exactly what you want, and do a little bit of a better job of reading your mind than the Atlas does here. But again, it's totally livable. It hasn't actively annoyed me this week, so you know, totally fine there. But it's still, I mean, it relies heavily on that turbo, so whenever you do get a downshift, then you get like a bunch of turbo surge, and it is still a little disconnected. Again, not the worst out there, not the best, but I will move off that point here. But we're gonna go ahead and put it up into the sport mode here. It does have a sport mode, and we're gonna turn down onto this back road here and see how it does. and here we go. It's actually kind of a nice sounding 4-cylinder turbo engine. So that's all you have here in the Atlases now. There is no V6 available whatsoever anymore. So you just have a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. For those of you who are Volkswagen aficionados, it's the Evo 4 generation of the EA888. And this motor's been proven in a lot of other vehicles here already. It's a very strong motor. Here it makes 269 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque, which is a good bit lower than a lot of the other vehicles that get this engine. So I'm not sure why they chose those numbers. It gives you about a 7 seconds 0 to 60 time, and that's mid-pack, but it's not overly impressive. And with just them cranking up, the tuning is a little bit more, they could have had best-in-class horsepower, and instead, we're doing, again, something that's, a little bit underwhelming. A lot of the others that even use turbo 4-cylinders, like the Toyota Grand Highlander, Subaru Ascent, many of those have more torque than this does. So, kind of underwhelming as far as performance, but it's sufficient for a vehicle like this. I don't think you're going to be too worried about it being too slow or anything. There are options out there with more power if that's your thing. Toyota has the Grand Highlander with its Hybrid Max thing with 400 pound-feet of torque. Mazda also now has the CX-90 with the inline 6 turbo engine, which is a lot punchier, even for its base ones that are comparably priced to this. But anyway, if you're getting one of these, just make sure that, the straight line performance is not your top priority, because otherwise you're probably better served with some of the other competitors. But otherwise, so we're on this little bit of a rougher road here now. It does generate some road noise, but honestly, they did a really good job with the refinement in the Atlas, and it continues to be really impressive here. Nice and quiet and pretty subdued, and I'd say slightly better than some of the others in this segment. I'd say even probably Grand Highlander might be a tiny bit noisier, at least for some of the lower trims of that, but really nice. And the ride quality is also pretty good too. They did a really good job here with the ride quality here in the Atlas. Again, way back even in 2018, I was impressed with the ride quality back then and the handling back then, and I continue to be impressed with that here even in 2023 or the 2024 model year. But anyway, we're coming up some corners here I always take, and let's see how the Atlas handles. So you have, the 21-inch wheels, which should give you the sportiest setup out of all the Atlases here with this top STL Premium R-Line trim that we're in. And so, it's decent handling. I don't think these days it's best in class. I think CX-90 is going to really wow you if you're someone who wants a really good handling three-row crossover. But this segment of people that are very, very tiny, there's not that many people that care. And as far as just family hauler cruisers, I think this is really set up to be pretty much perfect. The tires are squealing a little bit more than most of the other vehicles that I test on these same roads, so I think these tires just are a little bit weaker than some of the others as far as grip goes, but it's still totally fine. The steering's nice and light, which I do appreciate. That is something that's really nice to have here in a vehicle like this. Something like the CX-90 does have heavier steering, and it takes a little more work to carve up a back road like this. But aside from that, I think they really set this up well for what people, again, buying these are looking for. Nice light steering, flat composed handling, that's enough, it's soft enough that still keeps everyone happy in the car, but still gives you decent enough handling that you're not being worried about going around corners or anything. So I've already put over 130 miles on this vehicle in my week with it here, and it's just a very nice thing to live with, and I really like the way that it drives. And for anyone that's curious, it does tow 5,000 pounds, just like it used to before. So this engine, not only is it just as strong as the V6 essentially, and even slightly more strong, but it also is stronger than the old 4-cylinder, so that's why you're able to maintain that 5,000 pound tow rating. And another thing to mention is that this is one of the few, not everyone in this segment really offers front wheel drive anymore. This one does. So if you're looking to save some money and you live in a place where you don't need to have all wheel drive, it's great that the Atlas does offer front wheel drive, but just keep in mind whenever you are pricing out your Atlas online or looking at one at a dealer, make sure that it does have that 4Motion badge on the back and has that all-wheel drive system if that's something you need. The all-wheel drive system worked pretty well this week. I drove it in some rain, but it's the middle of summer here, so I can't really test it in any grueling winter conditions or anything. But what I can say is that it did give me a little bit of wheel spin though. Whenever I would have the wheel turned and I'd stomp on the gas, there was a few times where the front wheels would spin a little bit, and then the rear caught up, but it wasn't the fastest reacting all-wheel drive system, I will say, just again from my brief experience there, kind of provoking it. But aside from that, should be totally fine in bad weather, and gives you that same sure-footed all-wheel drive capability like all the other competitors offer. And now I'm out on the highway though, and I have the adaptive cruise control system on, which does have the travel assist function, which gives you some hands-on steering assist. And so I have that on. We're going around a gentle corner here. I'm just kind of hovering my hands on the wheel, letting it do its thing. And we'll be checking though to make sure that you do give it some pressure. So it wants to make sure your hands are on the wheel there. But it's been doing a really good job. And I did actually do a little bit more highway driving here this week. And I've been really impressed with this system. It hasn't scared me. It hasn't gone over the lines like some of the other competing systems have. And it's just overall been a really reliable and pretty helpful system, which isn't, again, a guarantee all the time. So I'm pretty happy with this system. Now, as far as other safety tech goes, it has automatic emergency braking, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert. All that stuff is standard. Stuff that used to cost extra now thankfully does come standard here, which is great. But the only thing that's disappointing, like I mentioned earlier, it does not come with adaptive cruise control as standard. And so that is one thing. You go up to these higher trims. Now, it's not reserved for the top trim. You can get it in some of the mid-grade trims, but it still is just the fact that you have to pay extra for that when it's standard on most of the other competitors these days. And so a little bit unfortunate there if you're going for one of those lower trims to not have that, because it is a nice thing to have whenever you're on longer highway drives, especially if you're in a place where you don't have too much traffic or anything. It certainly gives you a little bit of extra relaxation having the car doing the braking there for you, but not a huge deal, and still great you have all the other safety tech there. But the last two things to mention here are my fuel economy and the pricing and how it compares to its competition. So first off, fuel economy. So these are rated at 19 mpg in the city, 25 on the highway, and 21 combined. And in my driving here, which again, I did a little more highway driving than I usually do, and I'm still only averaging 17.6 mpg. And so, I typically do 1 to 2 mpg less than the city rating, so this falls in line with that. But part of the reason why they switched to this 4-cylinder, they said that it's more fuel efficient and it's supposed to help with all that. And yet I'm still getting the same, roughly 18 mpg like I've seen from my weeks with the Kia Telluride, Hyundai Palisade, Honda Pilot, all those that also have a V6 engine. So I don't really think that that's the perk here to going down to this engine, at least not with my kind of driving. And so it's just unfortunate that you don't get any better fuel economy, at least in this type of driving. Again, maybe on the highway it'd be a little better. And you do get more low-end torque here. This motor has to work a lot less hard than a V6, where you have to really rev out a V6 to make your power in the upper RPMs. This, it's got nice beefy torque there from that turbo right at the lower RPM. So it's certainly easier to drive. You don't have to drive it with as much anger as you did with the old V6. So that's good, but still just was hoping to see a slight bit better fuel economy here out of this. But again, it's a large, blocky, 3-row crossover, so you can only expect so much, I guess. And if you do want better fuel economy, the best options are, Toyota offers the hybrids, as does the Ford Explorer, I believe. And then there's also the Mazda CX-90, which offers a plug-in hybrid. It's the most electrified of the bunch right now. And so if you're looking for something with better fuel economy or, an electrified experience, go for the Toyota or the Mazda. But otherwise, getting back to, the competitor comparisons here, that's the last thing to mention here is the pricing and all that. So these start at $39,000, and then this one as tested is $54,200. And, it's actually a fairly big spread considering the amount of improvements you get aren't enormous, in my opinion, because they really came out swinging with that base model. The base model gives you leatherette seats still. I mean, these are now Vienna leather that are quilted, a little bit fancier here in this top trim, but, you still get leatherette seats, which are still really nice. They still are heated and ventilated. Nobody else gives you cooled seats as standard in this segment, or I think in any kind of vehicle. Even luxury high-end brands usually charge you extra for cooled seats. So I'm really impressed that cooled seats are standard, heated steering wheel standard. That's another really nice touch that a lot of companies make you pay extra for, go up to a top trim to get, and not so here with this. So I honestly think that the base model is probably the biggest strength of the Atlas, because you have so much space, you have so many amenities, and you get, all the screens as standard here. I think that the best, value of the bunch is probably going to be that base model, to be perfectly honest. Now, you do get some nice additions here, like you have this 12-speaker Harman Kardon stereo here. In this one, it's 400 watts. Sounds really nice. It's not the most amazing stereo in this segment. I think that the Mazda CX-90 takes the cake there as well. But it still is, a nice sounding stereo. You still have memory seats here in these upper trims. You have a head-up display. If some of those things, are nice add-ons to you. I mean, I really do like the ambient lighting. That is something you do get. And I do like the exterior lighting as well, which isn't on the base trim. But even if you go, one step up from the base or something, get those cooler lights and stuff, I think those are the strength. Once you get up to this one, at $54,000, it gets to be a little more troublesome because, again, my favorite competitors in this segment, Toyota Grand Highlander, Kia Telluride, Hyundai Palisade, and Mazda CX-90. There's many others I could, mention. There's the Traverse, there's the Explorer, there's the Pilot, there's a bunch of others, but to me, those ones I mentioned are the top ones, and they mostly give you more stuff for the money. The Palisade, for example, really, I think, has the best feature set where it gives you heated third row seats, a massaging driver's seat, all at around its $54,000 price tag for its top of the line calligraphy trim. And those also have, again, still the V6, still have, a automatic transmission that's a little more well behaved than this one is. You have still some physical controls versus everything being all screen here in this. It's just a little easier, I think, to live with those, and they have some nicer touches. Telluride doesn't give you that heated third row or the massage seat, but still is very, very nice on the inside of it. Still has those physical controls. The Toyota Grand Highlander gives you better fuel economy and also gives you physical controls and things that this doesn't offer. Like all those ones I just mentioned here give you an option for a cooled second row seat, and you get that in that top trim in the Grand Highlander and the Telluride and the Palisade. This does not have a cooled second row. Again, maybe these things are important to you, maybe they aren't, but just putting all the info out there, you do get more for your money from some of those others, in addition to all of them having more horsepower and more torque most of the time as well. So, that's, really the biggest struggle here. And, especially if you're someone who does want a sportier experience, the CX-90 having, the inline 6 turbocharged engine, way more torque, like 330 pound-feet of torque in that. It just, handles a lot better, a little bit less space, but still, fairly spacious. That's another really strong one that just came out. And the last thing I do have to mention too is that as far as the warranty goes here, Volkswagen for a few years there had a nice long warranty, but they've since downgraded that warranty to a 4-year, 50,000-mile powertrain warranty. And that also is a bumper-to-bumper warranty, so they give you a little bit longer on the bumper-to-bumper thing, but then they give you less on the powertrain than many others, which are typically 5-year, 60,000-mile powertrain warranties. And that even goes for like the Toyota, which doesn't really need the warranty because everyone just knows Toyotas are built to be some of the most reliable things out there. And the Hyundai and the Kia give you a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. This literally has half of the coverage as far as mileage, and less than half when you're talking about the year mark there. And so that makes it a little less competitive as well. Again, especially when we're talking about these same exact money, around $54,000 that these all cost. And so, this certainly has some nice plush things to it, but also, the Telluride and the Palisade are also really plush, as is the Grand Highlander in its top trim, to be honest. And, it's certainly an improvement over, I think, like this is a nicer interior than a Honda Pilot. I like the way this drives a little bit better than the Pilot, and, I think there's some advantages here. I don't think that this is bottom of the pack by any means, but I also don't think it's top of the pack. I think this is comfortably mid-pack, and isn't in my top 4 rankings, but, I think they still did a really good job here with this refresh, and, I think with a few tweaks here, it could, be a little bit higher up if they offered some of those things that the others do. But like I said, if you're one of those buyers that, loves that base model and all the features that it gives you, and you love the space, I really think that's a solid combination there that does kind of edge out some of those competitors, and that is really, I think, the best niche here for the Atlas, and, I think it's still, in that context, is a really solid value and a great purchase. But anyway, that's all of my thoughts here on the 2024 Atlas. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Huge thanks to Volkswagen for providing me here with this Atlas to review for you guys today. Thank you all very much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe to keep these videos coming. And be sure to check out that interior review if you're curious. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.